Not Annie's was the main gathering point for everybody. The big ice cream shop got along the front. There's a Seaburn Hall, but mainly the attraction was the fairground. Waltzes, the main one was the roller coaster. The cars, dodgems. And then just sort of side stalls, a lot of side stalls. There was also a ghost train. That's the main ones I remember. I was around about 15-year-old, and we're sitting on the grass in front of the fairground. There's a big space of grass where everybody used to sit as well. We were sitting there, and we heard screams. You know, when you're on the roller coaster, everybody used to scream anyway. But this was particularly made you turn around. You know, when you heard the screams, looked up, and I saw three of the little carriages had come half off the tracks. They were coming down the big sort of bump. Half had come off the tracks, and somebody got thrown right off. We saw somebody get thrown right off and down into the fairground. You couldn't really believe it. You couldn't take it in. It was horrific, really, to see somebody come off like that. You know, it was one of the things that you always thought that could maybe happen with that type of ride, but you never thought it would. But it was horrific to see. Yeah, I would never ever go on one. Never ever. And I always remember it. It's something it's nearly 50 years ago, and I always remember it. If I see a picture of the fairground, I remember it. It's one thing I think of.
I heard about the interviewing. I can't remember where I heard it from. And my father came and picked me up while I was on my lunch break from work, where I was at the time. Took me down, and I had the interview, and I started I had a week's notice, and then I started the following week. There was one occasion where I had to clean the pen out where the crocodiles were, and Francis, the one that was running the place at the time, he had to go in and sweep the pool. He had drained the pool, and then he had to go and sweep the pool because people used to throw money in trying to get the crocodiles to wake up, because they used to just lie there on the side or in the water, and they used to throw money in, and of course he used to make a pile all over the place. So he used to have to go in and sweep the pool out. So we had to stand by on the sides with our big skimmer nets, just to bang the water in case bang the pool in case the crocodiles came near. While he swept the pool up and got all the rubbish out. Because there's other things he used to throw in as well, cans and paper and things like that, you know. But that was an eventful day, that one. We learned how fast Francis could run when they started moving. There was the lake in the middle. We used to have the flamingos in there. And when the cold weather came, we had to take them indoors. So we had to go across the plank. There was a plank to the island, across the plank, and then try and catch them. But you couldn't let them fall in the water because they couldn't swim. They would drown if they fell in the water. So you had to go very, very slowly and try and catch them one at a time without making the others fall in the water. And the ducks were okay, but the flamingos, you couldn't let them fall in the water. So that was quite good as well. You used to have to go through the doors to get to the dolphinarium. It was great watching them, especially with Francis and Robin working them. used to do all sorts of things. It was a shame when they left, really. I think that was probably why there was less people coming in, because there was no shows apart from the sea lions, which wasn't really a lot. There wasn't. I mean, it was just a case of walking around looking at the animals, and they weren't really doing a lot. So I think it started to die off a bit. That's probably why it eventually shut. Well, as I said, there was very few staff, and I was being expected to do more and more of I was doing all the work really, and it was a lot of hard work, and I wasn't happy with the way the animals were being, the food that animals were being fed at the time. I felt it should have been better, and I complained, and it was decided on mutual agreement that I leave. And I got in touch with Mrs. Nolan, who still owns some of the animals, and said that I was leaving. And I think she came and took quite a few of her animals away, mainly the sea lions, and the dolphins already gone by then. And it was too much. I was there all day, every day. It was just too much, and they weren't willing to take anybody more on. So I presume it was because it wasn't as busy then. So I put my notes in and left. When I started, Bob had already started, and he was given the job of showing me the ropes, showing me what to do, and how to look after the animals, and how not to feed the llama.
Yeah, Cyril, as he was known,
Cyril, yes.
Guinarco, was a bit boisterous, and then very not unfriendly, but over-friendly, if anything. When it came to feeding time, you had to be very careful as to how you feed him. So he made sure you went in backwards, so he couldn't get his head into the feed bucket which you were carrying in your arms. If his head got into the feed bucket first, he would immediately take a big mouthful, give it a quick chew, regurgitate the whole lot, and spit it straight into your face. Unfortunately, Denise, one of the first jobs I had to do was to show her how that was done. So what you do, walk straight in, bucket in front, head in, mouthful.
Don't let it go its head in the bucket.
Yeah.
He didn't tell me how not to let it go its head in the bucket. He just, don't let it go its head in the bucket.
So the first job I had was to clean Denise down.
Yes.
And that was how we met.
Two of my friends went there after school, and we just started going and looking at the animals, and then we'd go and help to cut like bananas up to feed to the monkeys and things like that. And then it got to, well, we'll just go and help clean the cages out, and then it would be, well, I'll just go and clean the monkeys' cages out. And obviously the length of time, like any kid, you get more adventurous, and I can do this and I can do that, until you like end up sort of being in the cages and cleaning out with animals that you really shouldn't be in there with. And it just built up that it became like our little thing to do on a weekend, and it just evolved into that's where we spent our time. Me and my friend, we just loved the animals and going watching them, and like obviously living in Sunderland you don't get many chances to see monkeys and tigers and bears, so to go to the seafront and be with the animals was fantastic. I can remember we used to have the little, there's a tiny little lion cub called Peter, and me and my friends used to sit in the kiosk when we were supposed to be like doing like little jobs that we could do, and we used to have the little lion cub in the kiosk with us. And I mean, just think, you sat with like a lion cub on your knee nursing him, and that was quite nice. That's why we loved it, for things like that. You saw your friends doing it, so you thought you could do it, and obviously you shouldn't have been doing it, and there's no way you should have been put into those circumstances at that age. But I think at 13 you're fearless. There was, as you came into the zoo, there was a set of steps, and you went down the steps, and to the right hand side there was like a train carriage, and that had 3 tigers in it. Which, if you think about 3 tigers in a train carriage, they had no space, nowhere to go, and they were in there. And they had a bear called Matilda. They had a big polar bear, and again, a very, very small pen with nothing in it, just cement. No, it wouldn't be the size of like maybe 8 foot square for her to walk around in. So she was obviously like demented being in there. And they had a cage with some monkeys. The monkeys were the lucky ones because they had branches. Quite a lot of animals for the space that they had, and now you would not be able to keep animals in that sort of conditions because like the animals were going demented. My biggest memory is big old-fashioned dustbins coming from the abattoir with sheep's heads in, and like literally just like decapitated, like wool, everything, and pick them up by the horns and throw them into the animals, or by the ears or the tag, and it just turns my stomach. But and the smell of that, the smell was absolutely foul. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed with the animals, but obviously the end result sort of spoilt all of that. So. It was mid-August, so mid-weekday, and it was quite a wet day, and they wanted to take, they had this tiger cub called Mina was in a pit, which wasn't very big. I can give you the measurements, but quite small. And so she was sort of sunk, it was into the ground, so she could like come up on her paws and look over the top. And for some reason, they wanted to take her out of the pit and move her. And I was asked, Mrs. Lacey asked me to go with her, or I went with her, I don't know which way around. And they opened the gate for Mina to come out, and it was at the back of the pit, it was quite muddy. And as I opened the gate, she was on a leash. And a bit like you would get your dog out of a kennel, she was up and jumping, and then she just came down on me and just took me to the ground, and it was like a car crash incident. It's over so quick, but the power and the weight and was really quite phenomenal, and I managed, I don't know how, to like just crawl away just enough to get out of her reach. But even then, I didn't realise how badly injured I was, because I think you're sort of numb. So I sort of crawled away, and I really don't know what happened then. I've got no idea what happened to the tiger or whatever. And I went to where they had a little kitchen that they used to prepare food in, and I knew that people were like shocked, because I obviously looked horrendous, and showed me. I got a mirror and had a look in the mirror, and then when I saw in the mirror, I realised I was in trouble then, because all my face was just ripped open, my neck was ripped open, blood was just, I was just head to foot in blood, my clothes were just ripped, and from then I was taken to the hospital in Sunderland. So it's all so quick, it's so, and you're trying to recall it after so many years. And I was taken into the Sunderland General, and I was sorted out a bit in there, and then they said that really I needed to go to Shotley Bridge Hospital, which was a specialist plastic surgery unit. So I was taken by ambulance to Shotley Bridge, and they sorted me out and stitched me up and cleaned me, and I think I was in theatre a couple of hours, and it probably wasn't until the next day or the day after I started to realise what had happened to me. I think during the accident, although it was so short, I think that could easily, of another couple of seconds, that could have gone a different way. Once I got out, I was always well enough to survive. I mean, I wasn't like on oxygen and I didn't need resuscitating or anything. I walked into hospital, but I think during the accident, it could have gone either way, because it was quite bad. My cheek, it's just like a little line now. You can see a faint line. Well, that was ripped open from under my eye to like my jaw, and my neck was ripped open like from up here to down there. Like I've got a scar here, and my face was like ripped. And then there was another one above my eye, and that was, I mean, you can't tell now, but I probably had between say 200 and 250 stitches in my face and head and my leg. I've got a few bits in my legs and on my body, but compared to the way I looked and to the end result, I mean, the doctors were fantastic, and probably within a couple of years you wouldn't really just look like I'd had a bit of a bad accident. And I mean, now when I tell people, they just go, "What, in Sunderland?" They don't believe that that's what happened to me. But it's all thanks to the hospital, really, that they did such a good job. They should be in the wild. They should be kept in the wild and allowed to live in their own natural habitat. I mean, like tigers are down to like 3,000 just living in the wild, and they should never be in captivity. They should just be allowed. All animals should just be allowed to like roam free and have their natural life.